Let's now consider what is distinctive about their scientific practice. According to Aristotle's report, their emphasis is on what we would call the material basis of the natural world. Each of them sought to identify a single most basic stuff out of which the natural world is made. Thales reportedly claimed that this basic material principle is water, a hypothesis he invoked to explain why the earth remains in place. He says, it floats on water like a piece of wood. Anaximenes proposed that the basic material stuff is air, and he explained the stability of the earth by hypothesizing that it's a flat disk of compressed air riding on a pocket of gaseous air that's trapped beneath it. Now, Anaximenes explained how air is the most basic principle along the following lines. If air is compressed, it becomes water, and if further compressed, it becomes earth. In the opposite direction, if air expands or is rarefied, it becomes fire. Thus, one basic stuff, air, plus two operations, condensation and rarefaction, accounted for earth, air, fire, and water, and out of these four elements, everything in the natural world is made, or so the pre-Socratics claim. I like to refer to earth, air, fire, and water as the periodic table of the elements in pre-Socratic philosophy. Thales and Anaximander share the view that one of the elements on this table is more fundamental than all the rest, although they disagree on which element that is. Now, Anaximander takes a slightly different tack. He proposes a material principle that is more basic and less determinate than any of earth, air, fire, and water. His basic material principle is a kind of indeterminate stuff. He calls this the apeiron, meaning unbounded or infinite. Out of the apeiron, he says, the opposites, hot and cold, are separated, and these in turn give rise to the elements, earth, air, fire, and water, and these he invokes to explain various natural phenomena. He proposes that the stars are fiery spheres that circle the earth, but are occluded by dark mists. So the stars are visible to us only through small holes or vents through that dark mist. Okay, now, setting aside the differences between Thales, Anaximenes, and Anaximander about the identity of the basic material principle, we can identify a basic shared outlook in Milesian natural philosophy. This basic strategy can be subsumed under two headings. First of these is that they seek to understand natural phenomena from the inside out, that is, by appealing to internal constituents rather than external factors. This distinguishes their explanations from the sorts of mythical or poetic explanations that one finds in poetry like that of Homer, where, for example, we find natural phenomena like earthquakes, floods, and epidemics explained by invoking gods, in particular, Olympian deities like Apollo, Zeus, and Hera. For example, in Book 1 of Homer's epic poem, the Iliad, a plague breaks out among the Greek troops, and Homer tells us that it is caused by the god Apollo, who is angry at the Greeks, and he shoots arrows into their midst, and that's what causes the plague. The naturalist explanations, by contrast, want to understand what happens in the world by appeal to the inner workings of nature, not to divine intervention. In this, they have the same agenda as the author of the medical treatise On the Sacred Disease. That author argues against the traditional view that epileptic seizures are cases of being possessed by the gods. That's why it's called epilepsy. Epilepsy means possession. Rather, the doctor who wrote this treatise insists seizures are due to a condition in the brain, to some internal feature of the sick person. So that's the first shared feature of the Milesians.